Alright, so the Gears of War Reloaded beta has been over for about a week now, and I can confidently say I'm a little bit disappointed with what we were left with. Now, there's multiple reasons behind that, but just to get started with it, I will say I did have a lot of fun. It's genuinely the most fun I've had playing Gears ever in my life, regardless of Gears games. So I think I had more fun than Gears 2 or 3 online. Definitely more fun than, the mess that was Gears 4 and 5. And, I feel like it's kind of hard to screw that up, if that makes sense, you know what I mean? But, moving on to the beta, the one thing that really did grind my gears, throughout the duration of it, was the King of the Hill respawn timers. So for those of you who don't know, I think they upped the respawn timers up from 7 or 8 seconds to 14 or 15 seconds, and that led to many a situation where you would just lose because your entire team would be dead for 14 or 15 seconds when the other team was like maybe 10 or 20 points off of winning. And I feel like that's way too long. That's way too long. It would make sense if it was like traditional King of the Hill where you had like 210 points to, win. And then you would have a second round on top of that. But I think the score was 120. And then that was it. You have 120 and then you lose, around 18 or 19 points just off of being dead. That's kind of ridiculous. Right? But moving on from respawn timers, the other thing that really kind of irked me still was the fact that the Hammer of Dawn was still in competitive game modes, such as Execution, Koth, the only two that we got. And the reason that really, I guess you could say, pissed me off was because it's not fun to play against at all, period, even. Like, one team just gets the Hammer of Dawn on, like, Courtyard or something, and then they're just sitting there looking at your spawn, just holding RT, because, respawn protection in King of the Hill is super short. It's like 1 or 2 seconds. So you would essentially just die off rip, and you can never make it to, the hill. You can never make it there. It was kind of ridiculous, in a sense. And I feel like the best way to go about solving that issue would be to replace it with a third power weapon that isn't the Hammer of Dawn. So on Courtyard, you take stairs, you get snipe, you go down, you get boom. I feel like if you were to go to the middle and maybe pick up bow, that would make it, a little bit easier to play against, enemy teams, because we only have the cap of 120 points. The game's going to end super quick, and I don't want the game to end with, not really getting to play the game. You know what I mean? Like, I want to have the chance for my team to come back, and I want to have a chance for the enemy team to come back to keep the game competitive. That way, it's never boring, it's never stale, it's never just a lost cause, basically. You know what I mean? I feel like that would make it a lot more fun in the full release in August. But outside of those two things, which are kind of game mode specific, the hit reg the hit reg is better and worse in some cases. You know, like some people will understand what I mean by this because, you know, they played the beta, they understand what I'm talking about from, you know, a feeling standpoint. But it's like, you know, you're able to get the kills that you think you should have gotten because, you know, the game actually has decent servers now. They actually feel nice to play on. You know, the Nashor feels a little bit more consistent. But there are just times where it's like, you know, your shots are getting ghosted, you know, you just get bullshitted. It's kind of crazy to think about, to be honest. Like, I'm fairly certain I have at least a few moments in the game where I just have no regs or just have people sponging bullets for no apparent reason, you know. I'm fairly certain that I have clips there, and I'll probably put them on screen at this moment. But, you know, hopefully that's something that TC can fix, fingers crossed, for the full release. But I really don't have too much faith, to be honest, because once again it is TC, and there are also clips of, you know, snipers or the long shot being wildly inaccurate. And I don't mean inaccurate as in, oh, the bullet's flying, you know, 30 miles to the left out of the barrel, but I mean, like, if you don't have an active reload, you know, your shots will just curve.
Oh, bro, these non-active snipes. Ooh.
Even while you're completely zoomed in. Regular ADS, zoom in, your shots will just curve, and it's a little bit ridiculous for a game in 2025 for something to be that inconsistent and that strange, because that'll turn away the new fan base that you're trying to court with PC players and PlayStation players. You know what I mean? But alongside that, you know, there's also a few clips floating around Twitter of you know, strange weapon behavior. For example, I'll probably find it, but there's a clip of the Nashor, you know, resetting to the same place and then, you know, having the shot shift up, down, left, right by a little bit each time the trigger gets pulled. That's something that's going to piss people off. And excuse me, there's definitely a few moments where I feel like I've personally been bullshitted in that way, because I'll think that I chunked this guy, and then I see that, you know, I have a few pellets go through his body and you know, hit the wall behind him. I think there's even a clip on Icy Stream of that happening to a viewer of his. I'll probably find it and post it somewhere.
Okay, hold on. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, bro. I don't even yeah, I'm gonna be honest, bro. I think you got bullshitted right here, bro. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, listen, I think you got bullshitted right here, bro, to be honest. Like, what could anyone say about this? This is fucking insane. Look at him, bro. That can't, like, you can't miss right here, bro.
You know what I mean? But outside of that, another thing that's kind of like, you know, why would you design it like this is you know, competitive game modes not really, you know, being a competitive game mode, you know. So for example, when you have teammates leave the game, they're just kind of gone. You know, you can't match them because competitive is supposed to be, you know, you start the game with the full team, you end the game with the full team or whoever's left, right? And that's kind of annoying whenever you're in a 4v3 or a 4v2 and you don't want to, you know, leave the game because, you know, you queued up for roughly, I don't know, 10 to 30 minutes, and then you have teammates leave. That's kind of annoying to play with. You know what I mean? But outside of that, you know, I feel like I don't know how to say this, but like, outside of all the gripes I do have, I do think the game is a little bit more consistent in a sense. It's like, because of the way the servers are, you know, you're not gonna get completely bullshitted if your opponent misses, you know what I mean? It's like you can actually hold a proper strafe fight now, you know? And a lot of people who are new to Gears, or if you don't really have that legacy understanding of the game, they're not gonna really want to play a straight fight. You're just gonna want to go in super close, try and get a chunk, and then end the game that way, which I find to be completely boring. I like the drawn-out fights of old school Gears of War. I like the you know, slower pace, as some would call it. But you know, I guess it's kind of nice to try and have a way to force that, you know what I mean? But it is what it is. We'll see how this game performs over maybe the next year or so, while they're getting ready to release Gears of War E-Day, which everyone's looking forward to. I really, really hope TC doesn't fuck up Gears of War E-Day, because I love that game with my heart and soul. But you know, overall, I do just think something about this feels a little bit better than UE. Just a little bit, though, not too much. It just feels a little bit better than UE. And you could, you know, say that's because of the servers, that's because, you know, people are playing the game a little bit differently, you know what I mean? But this game does feel better. I'm holding out on hope, you know what I mean? I'm gonna hope and pray that this game does turn out to be good, just so that, you know, people have an enjoyable experience. People on PlayStation have an enjoyable experience. My friends who previously would not have even given the series a chance have a good experience, because the series means a lot to me. And I'll probably make a few more videos just pointing out, hey, stop playing the game like this if you're from Gears 5, if you're from, you know, if you think this is a duck and cover shooter. This is not a duck and cover shooter. It's not. This is a movement shooter by all means. Anyways, I want to say thank you for sitting here and listening to me ramble about a game that I'm really looking forward to, and I really hope is good on release. And I also have links in the description to my Twitch and Kick channels, and I would really appreciate it if you could, you know, follow me here on YouTube, as well as, you know, on Twitch and Kick. I'm trying to grow a little bit, you know, in the meantime. And I really do hope to see you, you know, maybe in my chats, either one of them, or just in general in the future. Later.